I remember stories from when I was younger. Tales of when the Empire grew vengeful and hunted the clans to the point of extinction. There were masters of deception, spies without equal, warriors of extraordinary ability. This is the legend of a brave few who fought to change the course of history and end the time of woe and terror. Our story begins at the Wooden Dojo.
I am Hayakawa Akemi, an only child raised by my father Genji, who never married, rarely mentioned my mother, and kept primarily to his work as an inventor in Hayunchao. Though I inherited no small skill in tinkering, it was my father's work with the Black Powder Brigade that introduced me to my first firearm, which captured the full scope of my attention. With a sharp eye and steady hand, I easily bested marksmen 20 years my senior in both accuracy and speed. I enlisted in the Imperial Army at 16, serving as a sentry and scout until I received news that my father had been injured and was released to tend to him. At home, I learned that while no one was exactly sure what had happened, Father had been found unconscious on the floor of his workshop, face and hand badly burnt, with his left eye scalded to ruin. He remained unconscious for 3 more weeks, with only occasional stirrings, sometimes murmuring truncated phrases and names I did not recognize until he would again fall silent. Once he had woken and began to regain his health, I confronted him about these names, Ryo and Izuko. Father was hesitant and deflected many of my questions, but as he had been instructed to stay in bed, he was subject to my pertinacity. Finally, he told me that Izuko was the name of a woman he had met in Higandao many years before, my mother. Their affair had been brief, but he had obviously been smitten as he spoke at length about her long chestnut hair and the small scar that split her left eyebrow. They were forced apart abruptly, however, when my father was called away for one of his projects with the brigade. Inexplicably, they did not keep in touch. However, several months later, he awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of a mewling child and found Izuko cradling the infant to her breast. She explained hurriedly that the child was his and one of 2 born in the hold of a merchant vessel as it sailed from the land of mountains and valleys. Upon returning to port in Unmaishi, Ninja had attacked her and kidnapped my brother Ryo. Izuko left me in the arms of my stunned father with a kiss and a promise to find my twin in return. He never saw her again, and believed she and my brother were likely killed by those same ninja. Giving up all hope to reunite with her over a decade ago, Father admitted that his work building firearms for the Empire's crusade was his way of avenging their deaths. My curiosity was not sated so easily, however, and I devised a plan to find out more. When my father began to adapt to his half-blindness and was able to take care of himself again, I returned to Daiwa and applied for the Imperial Inventors Guild. I was accepted and put under the command of Captain Harada, a skilled tactician and engineer. Seeing my ability in clockwork invention and intermediate skill in metallurgy, he commissioned me to expand my knowledge and experience and increase support for the Empire by aiding smaller villages in need. This was exactly what I had hoped. I could now freely explore the countryside in search of any information I might glean about the mysterious Izuko. It may seem like an exercise in futility to look for a woman that had disappeared almost 20 years ago and about whom I knew so little, but I felt that not only could I be successful, I must, for she was a link to a part of my own history that I thought lost forever. Though it flew in the face of my pragmatism, I also began to believe that this pursuit was ordained by fate. In my travels, I met a woman, Takeshi Aiko, who had been an instructor at the Wind Valley Dojo. The dojo was destroyed years prior, a victim of the Crusade's ravaging, and Aiko showed me that even though the ninja were often blamed for the nation's ills, the ongoing nature of the war to eradicate them had left villages and fields burned in its wake. We traveled together in the Iron Province for many weeks, and I learned much from her, which left many of my prejudices in tatters along the road. One night, as we shared our evening meal, she revealed that I reminded her of another young woman she had met some years ago in the Oakleaf Province, Koyanagi Azumi. This Azumi was tracking a small contingent of grasping shadows, the ninja assassins prevalent in the Black Veil. Her search was not in service of the Empire, but a more personal endeavor, as they had taken something very important from her, her son. The more she spoke and described the woman as having reddish-brown hair and a small scar on her left eyebrow, the more convinced I became that Azumi was my mother, Izuko. Aiko had sent her to find help from a friend, Hajime Abe. at the wooden dojo in Danketsu. I determined to set out for Danketsu the following day, but before I left, my friend gave me a parting detail with which for me to come to terms during the journey ahead. Koyanagi Izumi was a ninja.